All right, y'all. We back with another reaction right here on ABP Reactions, and right now we've been to see what is going on in the music industry, man, and how artists are finessing their fans. Let's check it out.
There are a lot of different ways that musicians finesse their fans. Sometimes it isn't a big deal. They might just finesse a couple of extra streams from you or make you pay a little extra money for some merch. But sometimes they're straight up wasting both your money and your time. And rarely, they will just straight up scam you. There's levels to finessing your fans. You can get away with it and keep a good reputation, or you can ruin your reputation for a few extra bucks. So today, we're gonna look into the art of finessing your fans. Real quick, just so you guys know, I'm defining finesse as to skillfully manipulate, trick, or obtain something from someone or a situation with subtle, clever, or artful maneuvering. Pretty simple, so with that being understood, let's continue. Concerts are a great opportunity for artists to finesse their fans. The most common way is when artists are just late to concerts. A lot of the time it's technical difficulties, an opener set goes too long or something like that. Sometimes there's travel complications, the artist gets sick, etc. It's not really a big deal. But on occasion there are artists that straight up seem to have a lack of respect for their fans. Like Axl Rose, for example, who was notorious for missing multiple Guns N' Roses shows, which in one instance started a riot. Justin Bieber is also guilty of this, like when in 2013 he was 2 hours late to perform because he was busy playing video games in his dressing room.
Oh, no. Nigga, what? 2 hours late because he was playing video games in your dressing room? That is crazy.
And in 2017, he canceled the final 14 dates of his tour because he was just over it. And other artists may show up, but they might not actually even perform. Like Kodak Black, who recently actually decided to play around on his hoverboard during his concert.
What the fuck? He's just on a hoverboard.
Don't get me wrong, I love Kodak, but I probably would not spend my money to go see him live. I feel like some artists seem to lack the understanding that fans are paying money, sometimes good money, expecting in return a somewhat decent performance at a certain time. But I think the GOAT of finessing fans in concert has to be MF Doom.
MF Doom. I knew he was gonna say that.
Who infamously sent body doubles to perform for him. See, Doom always wore a mask, so it wasn't too hard to send out a guy with a somewhat similar build to lip sync his tracks. He even said in a song, he plots shows like robberies, in and out, 1, 2, 3, no bodies, please.
Finessed him.
Eventually, though, after getting caught a few times, I think he retired his villainous ways. And the real Doom actually did come out that time. Regardless, though, none of these are the end of the world, and it doesn't happen often enough to be a huge problem. But the increase in ticket prices definitely is. Now, trust me, I know, and have covered it before, the two main people you can blame these days for expensive tickets is Spotify and Live Nation, and I guess record labels too. Very rarely is it actually the artist's fault, but sometimes it could be. According to Polestar in 2023, the average ticket price of the top 100 music tours before resale was around $122. In 2018, the average was closer to $85.
Jeez. Them tickets is expensive as a bitch nowadays.
And if we take things way further back to 2000, it was just about $40, which makes this clip of Kurt Cobain pretty wild to look at.
The question is, what do you think of artists who do charge anywher between $50 to $75 for tickets?
There are people
who charges that much money?
Who does
Apparently.
that?
I think there's people who charge that much. Kurt Cobain, man. Y'all remember Kurt Cobain? Nirvana?
Madonna
How much
does?
do we charge a ticket, John?
Yeah, but that's like a burlesque show.
It's a big production. Isn't it?
27?
12?
You can speak.
Is that 12 or 21?
He's like legendary. Kurt Cobain is legendary for one, for his music side, but two, in hip hop, his name is always used as a reference for how he went out, which is commit suicide. They always use his name as reference for that. And that's been forever because this was, decades ago.
17 to 18 bucks a ticket? Wow.
Madonna charges $50.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We were talking about, boy, we should charge $25 and really milk it. Yeah, really take them for all they got.
There's obviously a lot of factors at play here, but this significant increase in ticket prices outpaces inflation by a lot. It also outpaces the increase in movie tickets and other live events. So unless you're going to like an underground concert, if you want to see a big artist live, it's going to cost you, and it definitely won't be cheap. Oftentimes, a significant chunk of tickets are held back for pre-sale to VIP guests, music industry managers and agents, corporate sponsors, the media, and more. In 2018, a government accountability office reported that between 10 to 30% of tickets for big concerts were sold through pre-sales rather than general sales. And for major artists at huge venues, that number can rise as high as 65%. For example, at one Taylor Swift show, just 1,591 tickets were on sale to the public for a venue that could hold 13,330 people. Obviously, musicians don't have full control over this, but I did think it was a pretty interesting stat to note. Even though the ticket companies have a significant portion of sway in these decisions,
They gotta make the money back. You gotta think this is different times now too. The part that goes with this is they're asking as much for tickets increase because artists have increased their show rate. You know, like all these artists now, shit, they want to get the most bang for their buck, especially hearing how much the bigger artists make. They like, damn, nigga, what? They went to go pick up 5 million? They went to go pick up 1.5 a show? They picking up 2 million a show? I gotta get as far as possible, close as possible to that number I can. What am I worth? So their agent is gonna ask for the max until the promoter says, all right, I'm not going no higher than this. All right, can we work out 500,000? Oh man, if it's 500,000, I mean we're gonna have to sell the tickets at this much. Well, that's what it's gonna take. All right, fuck it, let's see. And a lot of these artists, you know, that's their thing. They just want to brag and boast about it in their song. Because remember, Roddy Ricch was bragging about making 250,000 a show. It was at a point where Roddy Ricch, I think he even posted a receipt. He was making 250,000, $250,000 for a show, and was flexing it. And that's what a lot of artists was doing. It became like a flex, a talking point. Nigga, I make $7 million a show. Lil Baby did it at one point. He was bragging about how much money he was making. A lot of rappers do it, but when they do that, the goddamn fans get the short end of the stick because y'all bragging about getting 700,000 a show. That means we gotta pay $250 to see y'all, $400 to see y'all. Like, damn, nigga. The average motherfuckers don't got that. $400 for a show.
the artists themselves arguably have the largest share, especially the bigger they are, because as a big artist, you do have a good amount of leverage. And I say arguably because, trust me, it's been argued. Like, a lot. Many fans tend to argue a lot that the artist has no choice and the blame should be placed solely on ticket companies, labels, Spotify, or whoever else. However, even some big names on the artist side have exposed that this isn't always the case. The Cure's frontman Robert Smith said, "It was easy to set ticket prices, but you need to be pig-headed. We didn't allow dynamic pricing because it's a scam that would disappear if every artist said, 'I don't want that.' But most artists hide behind management. 'Oh, we didn't know,' they say. They all know. If they say they do not, they're either fucking stupid or lying. It's just driven by greed." So
facts. Artists always say it's the manager, or, when it comes to manager, I didn't know. And vice versa. Well, I mean, not vice versa. Even with the lawyers. When it comes to doing the business deals, that's artist's favorite. It's not me, it's my lawyer. Like, bitch ass nigga, you gonna charge me for this? We said it was going to be free. It was going to be a swap. It ain't me. It's my lawyer, man. Like, nah, y'all motherfuckers know what y'all doing.
even if it's easier said than done, which I totally agree with, by the way, the fact that people on the artist side do say this sometimes is saying something. At one point, Pearl Jam even tried to fight back over 20 years ago when they boycotted Ticketmaster, which even then owned around 90% of venues across the nation. And while Pearl Jam had hoped that other big bands would team up with them, no one did. So as a result, a pretty tough precedent was set. In 2009, Eddie Vedder said, "There were other people who had opportunities to join in. Instead, they actually cut deals with that company. These were people I feel who could afford to make a stand." Pearl Jam's attempts were noble, and at one point even led to them testifying in court that Ticketmaster was a monopoly. However, in the end, the band members themselves say it was a major part of what killed their careers. When you try to fight against the industry, it comes with a high chance of being blacklisted.
Oh, yeah.
So this finesse really isn't most artists' fault inherently, but they could probably cut us a deal on tickets if they really wanted to. And these days, going to a concert, like I said, has gotten gotten really expensive. And if it's not the tickets, the hotel, the transportation that'll get you, it'll definitely be the merch. Going to one of your favorite artists' concerts, especially when they don't always tour near your city or even at all, can be quite the memorable experience. And while nowadays most people are having their phones out taking pictures and videos, often feeling the need to post the entire show on their story, sometimes that's not enough to remember the event by. Which brings us to the long-standing tradition of merch. It feels nice to not only support an artist or a band that you love, but it's also something you can physically take home with you and wear and represent. As the industry has progressed and artists aren't making quite as much as they used to thanks to streaming, merch has come in to help supplement that income. Whether it's because of the ticket companies, streaming, or a bunch of other factors, merch is important. It's grown to become an even bigger source of revenue for touring bands and online. But the thing is, what used to be cheap t-shirts you could pick up at a stand outside the show has turned into an entire industry of its own. Well, it may
Facts. Who got the best merch in your opinion, artist-wise? That shows you done, attended, concerts you done attended. Who do you feel got the best merch, design-wise, quality-wise, whatever you feel as the best? Let me know.
may not be cheap to produce and sell merch, especially considering many venues take some of that money made. It doesn't quite explain how expensive some merch has become these days. A great example of this is Travis Scott, who during his 2 London O2 shows sold around $1 million in merch, with hats costing over $50 and hoodies over $140. You heard me?
That's because he does resale. People resell his merch. So I get that. It's like, nigga, shit, they feel a type of way. It's like, hold on, I know what y'all finna do. Y'all finna buy all my merch and y'all finna sell it online for the high. So we're gonna bump our shit up a little bit more than the average artist.
You're right, that is 2 concerts in which he sold over $1 million in merchandise. And obviously he might not be the perfect example because a lot of fans treat his merch like designer collectibles. It's not too hard to find other artists selling $80+ shirts either. As a global industry overall, music merchandise alone has grown to a $3.5 billion industry. And that was back in 2018, so imagine how big it's gotten now. It's been pointed out by heads of major merch companies that unless you're one of the few mainstream pop artists, many in the music game make way more money off their merch than their music. And if it's not the artist merch kind of becoming a designer brand itself, oftentimes artists or bands will collaborate with actually established fashion brands or accessible outlets as well, like that Nirvana shirt sold at Target, which probably hit hard for some of you. But it's just one specific example as big stores across the country sell merch featuring tons of different artists. And another problem that has come up lately is merch isn't just expensive, but it can also be very lazy. One person on Reddit said, "The worst part is how many artists completely phone in their merch designs," with someone responding saying, "Hi Lord, I'm not paying $30 plus shipping for a shirt that just says melodrama in the front and nothing else."
Oh God. That's what I be saying. Like even with the merch, I'm like this. I'm old school. It's like the merch gotta look tight. That's why I made sure when we did drop merch with Community and Ace Boys and all that stuff, like the merch had to look tight. It's like, man, y'all not finna get me. That's a real finesse. Like even the Supreme shit, the whole box square Supreme shirt, how they was like buying that for the high and reselling it for the high. I'm like, I can't do it, dog. I can't do it. The resale price. They was selling those shirts for like $300. Just a regular white t-shirt that had a box red Supreme. And I'm like, I get it. That's at this point, it's not about the shirt, it's about the brand. You're buying the brand right now. That's all that is, because the shirt is $4 to make, $3 to make. You're buying the brand.
So whether you want to call it extreme fandom or capitalism at its finest, lots of money does go into merchandise, which has only got more and more expensive as time has gone on. Even if the prices start to outprice the majority of fans, it doesn't necessarily matter, especially when applying the 80-20 rule, which suggests that the 20% of an artist's most loyal fans will generate 80% of the revenue, which kind of means they can price it however they want, knowing that their superfans will buy anything. According to a study by Betway, if you want to keep up with BTS and all of their merch, it'll cost you nearly $6,500. And there are very similar numbers for other big artists. Throughout this whole section, I've talked mostly about clothes, but there are other merchandise products that artists put out that sort of finesse you as well. A good example of this is Kanye's stem player, which in retrospect, even many buyers themselves have called a scam, mainly because the portable music player / mixing board was $200, and it was the only way you could listen to Kanye's album Donda 2. Now,
Whoop
you
they
guys
feet.
know how big of an artist Kanye is and how coveted his music is, so if the only way to listen to that album is on a 200 player device, a lot of people are going to buy it. And most of these people aren't producers or DJs or engineers or whatever, so they have no need for this device, except for to listen to the album. Well, the stem player was sort of neat. A writer for Slate summed it up well, saying, "The worst thing I can say about the stem player is pretty much everything else I have to say about it." They continue saying, "Both practically and conceptually, the stem player is like a parody of what's hailed as smart in the visionary disruptor circles that West admires. Once you get past the novelty of being able to remix your favorite music, you arrive at the bigger question. Why would you want to? Especially
Facts. Like, why would I want to? The fuck?
when you can get it cracked off for free and do most of this yourself." And then you get into just the plain ridiculous merch, like Kiss's $4,700 casket or Frank Ocean's $1,000 cock ring. If you buy that, that's
Wait, what? What? Frank Ocean really was selling cock rings? What?
on you. But at the end of the day, overpriced tickets and overpriced merchandise is not the end of the world, because you can opt to just not buy any of them. However, there are also some
Hey, who want to buy a cock ring? An iced out cock ring. What? Who idea was that? Who told Frank Ocean, hey man, this is probably kill. Niggas will buy this. You know what? He does have a fan base that will buy that shit. Never mind.
very sneaky ways in which artists will release their music that low-key tricks or coerces the fans into paying extra money for it or giving them extra streams. Deluxe albums are a great way artists have been doing this. The deluxe album concept is pretty much a direct evolution of the A-side and B-side format that records used to have. And you might be thinking, what's the problem here? Well, what used to be a gift to fans has now turned into another marketing scam. On a Reddit post, a user pointed out how deluxe albums can be used to game the charts. Artists will use deluxe albums to toss up a couple throwaway tracks months after the original album's release. This way, it can keep the album up on the charts as excited fans rush to hear the new songs.
That shit got so burnt out. Doing deluxe shit. Oh, man. Artists don't have no creativity. Like, they see one shit work for somebody, everybody start following suit. It's like whoever does it first is like sometimes whoever does it first could go underneath the rug and somebody who does it second could get all that shine. But that whole deluxe shit, it had its time when it was like a, let me go double back and buy it or double back and whatever. But now it's burnt out. It's all the way burnt because it's not even like I feel like I'm winning when I get a deluxe no more. When I hear a deluxe, I just be like, man, this shit is all the same shit, but one additional song. And they be like, you calling it a deluxe? Like, no, nigga. Switch it up. Like, give me 6 additional songs and give me a remix of something that was already on there with these new additionals. Like, make me feel special, motherfucker.
Extending an album's shelf life as well as its profitability, at the expense of fans hoping for new or separate projects. Noah Sipe, a writer from The Register, wrote an article about this and said, artists are getting so used to deluxe albums just being another way to boost sales.
Exactly.
They release them days or even the same day as the original album. Ed Sheeran released both Play and Play Extended Edition on the exact same day, September 12th, which drives his fans to listen to the album, then jump ship to the extended version at once. This adds no specialized feeling to the songs on the extended version, considering they'd get the same feeling if it was just on the original album.
The same day is crazy. Dropping the extended version on the same day. Like, what? Now you just playing us. Man. Now you just calling us stupid. Now you just calling us stupid. So you're going to put out 2 different albums, but the same album, just because this one got extended versions the same day? Like, what?
Honestly, I think it's kind of like they start withholding some of the better songs until they hit a successful moment. That way they can ride the wave of success all the way to the bank. Because once they know that they have a hit album, they can drop great tracks onto the deluxe version and know that they can immediately sell these albums all over again and continue their charts. Because the fans are incentivized to go buy another version of the album that they already own to get those new tracks.
Okay, as I'm editing, I remembered this. A perfect example is when Yeet dropped 2093. A day after the release of the original, he put out Part 2, which was a deluxe with a few extra songs. Then a few days after he put out Part 2, he put out Part 3. But Part 3 wasn't even on streaming services. You had to pay for that. So it just seemed like a
So he read a play. I'm going to hit y'all with 3 parts. The second one, it'll be on streaming services. The third one, it's up. It's a mystique behind it. So you got to buy it to see what's on there. You got to buy it to hear this version. Oh, yeah. See, y'all got to stop acting like we stupid, bro. Stop treating us like we dumb, bro. Stop treating the consumers like we're dumb, dog. Damn. Don't be so thirsty.
Shady way of getting fans to get you more streams and pay extra money to listen to your album. And as a big fan of his, it was kind of annoying that I had to jump through a bunch of hoops just to listen to all that music. But Deluxe albums are hardly where the problem ends. In fact, they're where it just begins. Because most of these finesses so far are manageable. They're not career ending, they're not that shady. But what we're about to get into is where things kind of start to get shameless. Alternative album versions also tend to run rampant in the industry. You might be wondering, what do I mean by this? How is this different from a Deluxe album? So to make it easier to understand, I'll just show you some examples. Taylor Swift's Life of a Showgirl has approximately 38 variants, including 27 physical editions and 7 digital download editions. In the time,
my nigga, come on, bro. Come on, dog. I mean, all right, look who it is. I get it. Not every artist can do this. We are talking about the biggest in music. She can pull this off, but at the same time, that's way too much. You gotta be at her level. This is, when you talk about the biggest in music, Taylor Swift and Beyonce, 2 names come up. They can pull that off. Don't think that you got them Who Shot Sam from up the block that's coming to drop this shit and go try to pull something like this. It ain't gonna work, brother.
time span of 28 days, none of which include a single new song. The only thing they add is a different cover or vinyl color. This isn't giving more options for superfans, this is exploitation. Most of these variants will be lost in time due to lack of new content, causing more waste than substance. This all roots back to Swift cash grabbing and clawing to keep her album high on the charts. And I guess extra colors are cool, it could come off as more options, but when you know you have a bunch of super fans who, like, everyone knows that Taylor has diehard fans, they're going to buy every version and you're going to boost your sales, your money, your position on the charts, all of it.
Exploiting their ass for sure.
Other examples could possibly include Tyler the Creator's reissue of his album Chromacopia Plus, which included only 1 new track. Begging the question, was it all just a trick to expand the sales of the original album? And
1 new track is crazy, man. Come on, y'all. What are we doing? A Deluxe for 1 new track?
as the writer I mentioned earlier says, it's a strategically smart idea, but it gives fans nothing but a bad taste in their mouths. And I don't think Tyler's like one of these evil artists who's trying to finesse his fans. But I will say, I'm pretty sure it was for Call Me If You Get Lost, but I bought that record because Fishtail was supposed to be the bonus track. And then I found out the bonus track was only, I think, on the CD or the cassette, which I don't want to say it's deceptive marketing. Maybe I'm just stupid, but it did kind of feel like deceptive marketing. But worst of all is one that I've covered
Call it like it is,
times,
man.
And that is French Montana's Mac and Cheese 5. On top of the original version of his album, he released multiple other versions, including a sped up, a slowed down, probably a chopped and screwed, an instrumental, and an acapella. He also...
Man, if you don't get the fuck out of here, what the fuck I want all that for? What the hell do I want an acapella for? That shit makes sense for DJs. But I'm saying as a consumer, I don't give a fuck about your goddamn acapella instrumentals and all that. Man, that shit is for DJs. As a consumer, don't try to sell me a different deluxe project with all that. I don't need all that.
Dropped every single song from every single version as a single. This way, every single song and every single version of that song would show up on every featured artist Spotify in a very spammy way. So I'm sure you can see the problem here.
That's thirsty as fuck.
And so did fans. As one person said, damn, this looks like a cry for help. But while we're on the topic of different album formats and French Montana, we can't forget vinyls. Vinyl used to be a fun collector's item with bonus loot and bonus tracks. However, in the big 2026, artists have really been using records to finesse fans, to the point where honestly I wouldn't even call it a finesse, I would just say it's a straight up scam. In addition to all the greasy stuff French did with Mac and Cheese 5 to boost his streams, he also involved it with a vinyl scam as well. Basically, he released records for pre-order which were only $5 and then just shipped them out to random addresses. The reason he did this was similar to the rest of his other marketing tricks, and that was to boost his sales. According to Billboard, for the sales to count, the records would have to be shipped by the album's release date. And since this was the case, many fans
God.
theorized it was all just to boost the stats.
Oh.
But French is far from the only artist that uses records to finesse his fans as
Oh
well
my
as his
God,
sales.
what?
A newer trend which seems to be gaining traction in the industry is artists selling vinyl versions of their album, which only include part of the album. One example is Lil Wayne's The Carter 6, which included only 6 of the original 19 songs. It did have 3 new songs, but that's only 9 songs. And the record cost $40, by the way. So you're paying $40 to hear 3 exclusive but probably crappy songs and 6 songs on the 19-track album. Fans were extremely upset, and rightfully so.
What
Although,
the
to be fair,
fuck?
unless you pre-ordered it, you kinda deserve to be scammed if you bought that record. But Wayne isn't the only artist to pull something like this either.
Wow.
Other artists, including The Weeknd, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, and Travis Scott, have also been called out.
That's the labels being thirsty as fuck, bro. Like, this is thirsty, bro. Y'all fucking the game up. Y'all watering the game down, man. These labels, like, bro, stop trying to milk us, bro.
The first 500,000 vinyl copies of Travis Scott's Utopia were pressed without Drake's last-minute verse on Meltdown. So basically, the first 500,000 people that ordered this record were missing out on a track. Nicki Minaj's Pink Friday 2 record had only 10 of the original 22 songs. Beyonce's Cowboy Carter vinyl excluded 5 songs. And The Weeknd's Hurry Up Tomorrow vinyl included only half the tracks. Again, you can make arguments that the artists aren't necessarily at fault here. It's the record company, the vinyl company, whoever they're having price these records, whatever. But still, I don't think that makes up for not giving fans half of the album when they are paying for it. Because really, they could just listen for free. But as fans and collectors, they're going out of their way to listen to and support your music. And I won't even get into how expensive records have gotten over the last few years. It's things like this that make me think that the music industry and the artists in it are taking the fans' generosity for granted. Things like this are happening more and more frequently.
It's because of streaming, man. The streaming ain't paying nobody, so they finding ways to get paid. And they milking motherfuckers to get paid so that they can have abundance of money in their account and live like rappers once used to live, man. Rich and fucking wealthy. These fucking streaming sites have fucked up everything, bro. These motherfuckers making pennies on the dollars now for each stream, and it's fucked up, man.
More common, and fans are putting up with it. But at some point, I'd imagine there'd be a breaking point, and fans will no longer tolerate record scams, spam releases of albums with multiple versions that provide no extra value, overpriced merch, and other things along these lines. Regardless, these are the types of finesses that you could probably still get away with. It starts to get rocky here, and it might bring some bad press to your career, and some of them legitimately are scams, but in 2026, I think you could get away with most of this. However, nothing comes close to straight up, blatant, flat-out scams. This is when an artist, rather than trying to get away with making a few extra bucks, straight up just scams.
Why is Soulja Boy the face of scams?
Their fans, taking their money for either a crappy product or just never delivering said product. In an older video I did, I covered a guy named Fora, who might not be as big, but he stands out as an example of how even smaller musicians can scam their fans as well. The main way he did this was through merch, which is a pretty common method. By the end of his charade, Fora stole over $70,000 from his fans through his brand Yours Truly clothing and other ventures since 2018. He also started a Kickstarter with the goal of raising $60,000 to start his own label. As a reward for the people who donated, he promised the 635 backers who raised over $65,000 that they would get albums, merchandise, exclusive content, and more. Instead, though, many backers never received their reward or got broken/incomplete items. And to make things even worse, 2 years later, Fora signed with Warner Bros. Records.
Oh, hell no, dog. This nigga raised all that money to start his own label only to sign with Warner Bros.
Not operating independently like he promised. Reviews on his merch site have discussed never receiving products, poor customer service with generic, unhelpful responses, and a big lack of refunds. And if an item did actually come, it could be in poor quality, or it could have inconsistent sizing. After I posted this video, Fora actually threatened to sue me, but fast forward a few years and apparently he filed for bankruptcy, so I guess I came out on top of that beef. However, bigger artists are also capable of scamming their fans too, with Soulja Boy notably participating in countless scams. One of his most entertaining scams was when he announced his plans to create his own line of game systems called the Soulja game. I'm not going to dive too deep into this product, especially since I've covered it in another video, but he basically just took super knockoffs from Alibaba, slapped his logo on it, and called it a night. However, being a modern-day inventor is not his only method of scamming.
Dog.
Like a bunch of other musicians, Soulja has also been...
Oh, that NFT shit was the worst. Oh, the NFT era. That was the biggest scam. The NFT era, man. Everybody and their mama started coming up with NFTs. Left and fucking right. I'm like, do you niggas even know what this shit supposed to represent or do? Everybody was selling an NFT. That was like, I think during quarantine, huh? When everybody was selling them goddamn NFTs, it was just like a monkey. Like a monkey? What the fuck am I supposed to do with this shit? What the fuck am I supposed to do with a fucking picture of a goddamn monkey? The hell am I supposed to do with this?
Caught up in one of the most common scams over the last few years, and that is his own crypto / coin / whatever pump and dump famous people are constantly doing. These crypto scams have also included DJ Khaled, who ended up facing charges by the SEC. Lil Yachty, Neo, and Akon have also faced SEC charges as well, and a ton of others who either had to pay out massive fines or also sometimes commit to never promoting anything crypto related ever again. So overall, there's tons of ways that musicians can finesse and sometimes even straight up scam their fans. And sadly, in most cases, it's the most diehard fans who end up getting tricked or swindled. Like I said, I feel like this is becoming more and more common, especially
exploiting
in
the diehards.
So, and I'd imagine at some point there will be a breaking point. We'll just have to see when or if that day comes. If you like this video, you might like my video about musicians who sold some just crappy products.
All right, man. Exploiting the diehard fans. Yeah, that's not cool. See, that's like, you don't have to try. It's like what they say, why run down a hill? Well, I forgot to say it. When you can walk down and fuck them all. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyways, it's equivalent to that. Like, why be thirsty, bro? Like, why are you charging fans $500 for like nosebleeds? It's like, come on, man. Like, but I get why. We know why, because on the music side, you guys aren't making money from music no more like you once was due to streaming. So you're taking it out. It's a ripple effect. So now the fans have to pay in exchange for that. Since I'm not getting paid from my music, I got to get it from somewhere. Why not get it from y'all? And that's what's going on right now, to where it's like, damn, it's working. It's working because people are still going to buy tickets, but not for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. It worked for some, not for all. So, you know, a lot of people see Kendrick Lamar just did SoFi, and they start thinking, hey, man, well, shit, if everybody pay $1,200 for Kendrick Lamar, and they think like, nigga, and nobody around them won't tell them like, nigga, you're nowhere near Kendrick Lamar. A lot of these artists in their head think they're bigger than what they are, and that'd be the problem with this shit. And they think, hey, I can put this out and everybody's going to buy it. Everybody's going to support it. I can come out and sell my merch for $1,200 a shirt. And somebody's, you know what? I remember when Nipsey Hussle did the Proud to Pay shit, right? The P2P shit. And he said $100 for a CD. I remember seeing rappers and, you know, being in these studios and hearing them talk like, that's crazy. Who the fuck going to pay $100 for a CD? Who the fuck going to pay it? And even when he started announcing who was buying them, Jay-Z bought them. People were like, oh, no, that's cap. It was people on Twitter hating. And it was like, that was mind-blowing. $100 for a CD. Now, fast forward to today and look at what these artists are charging. You know what I mean? Because they saw somebody bold enough to do that. But then now you guys are exploiting. Nipsey did on some like, hey, if you fuck with me. I'm only making a certain amount of numbers. And this is for my 100 or my 1,000 diehards who really want to support me and love what I'm doing. But then you got people who tuck that sauce, put their sauce on top of it, and now they're exploiting everybody and just taxing niggas and giving terrible quality shit. But let me know what y'all think, man. What do y'all think this is going to go? How do y'all think this will end in the end? Are fans eventually going to stand up and say, fuck that, we're tired of this shit, drop your prices or else? Or do y'all think niggas going to continue to pay? Let me know. I'm going to give y'all 2 seconds to smash the like. And as always, get ready for the next reaction.